Good morning. Today's message was inspired by two incidents. The first incident took place this week at the Rio Mall. My neighbor and I had gone there to handle some business. Well, actually, I was just tagging along for the view. We decided to go to the mall by bus, and it gave me an opportunity to see a different part of the city and one of the big malls that's here in town. After we handled her business and made a quick trip to Corral, which is the Cuenca equivalent of Super Walmart, we stopped for a sit down and tea and coffee, and we shared a sweet treat together. While sitting, we began to chat about the behavior of some of the expatriate community. Let's just say sometimes the expatriate Americans can be, well, not so nice in their perceived entitlement. Occasionally, their behavior can be very demeaning and downright mean. We talked about kindness and about not expecting Ecuadorians to succumb to the American ways, and that expectations that they will was unfair and sometimes mean-spirited. Now, my disclaimer, while judgmental to say the least, the focus of our conversation was on being gracious visitors in this country and about appreciating their ways that, although different, have tremendous value to the quality of living available in this beautiful city and country. I'm sure you can imagine the behavior I'm talking about. This was experience number one. Later in the week, I returned to the bank for the third time. Now, rabbit trail, handling business here requires a different kind of patience. Okay, I'm off that rabbit trail. It was my third trip to the bank for the purpose of opening a local account. There are some things like my cell phone bill that won't allow me to pay online using my United States debit card. Now, the first two times I had the assistance of my neighbor who graciously accompanied me and spoke for me to the bank representatives. Well, he was out of town, and I had an I can do it attitude right up until I got to the bank. You see, the first step in the process is to get a number from that machine that's standing in the middle of the floor. I needed a cedula number. That's like a national ID card. Think of your driver's license number. Well, I am not a resident, nor do I yet have a visa, so I also do not have a cedula. I humbly tried my passport number, and that was unsuccessful. How do I get a number to get in line? Fortunately, one of my other neighbors was with me on this trip, and she was able to use her cedula number and get a ticket. I was number 3 in line. And then my preparation began. I pulled out my phone, which is absolutely not allowed in banks, and attempted to access my Google Translate app so that I could type out my speech of what I needed from the bank associate. And then it hit me. Maybe I can't do this. The bank is downstairs in the Monai shopping center, and I had no cell signal. Panic set in. And when panic sets in, my limited Spanish speaking ability sometimes freezes up too. Well, what do you have left when your brain is spinning? Sign language and any Spanish I can muster in this very long bank visit. One bank customer, seeing my distress, said in English, "I can speak a little English. What do you need?" I told her, and she suggested I go to one of the bank representatives on the other side for help. I did. The bank representative, knowing the rules about cell phones in the banks, patiently listened as I did my best to explain that without cell service, I did not have the means to communicate clearly using my translation app. She patiently connected my phone to her phone's hotspot with a smile. I thanked her for her patience and her help. I went to wait for my spot in line, and when it was my turn, another lady cut me in line right in front of me. But I'm number 3, A3, and she was number 3, S3. She had come in 10 minutes after me, but after a moment, I simply shrugged. To be honest, I was a whole lot anxious and a little bit frustrated. but I waited as patiently as I could, and she was served very swiftly. As I sat down, the representative remembered me. And as I began to explain my needs, a man who I had only briefly noticed came over to the desk. I didn't know who he was, but he said, "I speak some English. May I help you?" The relief was probably visible. Maybe he didn't know it, but I did. My best wasn't good enough. I signed several documents that I had no way of understanding, and the account was open, but that was not the end. He explained that next I needed to go to a teller and have a bank card issued. Yes, right there, because there is no mail service in Ecuador. The teller was also gracious and patient as she verified my identification and my name. Then I had to go back to the representative to get help activating the card. Then I had to go outside the bank to use the ATM to change my temporary password, then back to the representative for help with setting up the banking app on my phone. But it needed to send me a text message. But I have no signal. Enters the English-speaking man again, who directs me out into the mall near the railing where, like magic, I have cell service again. 7 attempts later. Every time I entered the code, it gave me an error. I'm going to try this one more time. I request a new code, and at this time, 2 ladies come out to the railing to help me. One was watching to see if they could read the message quickly enough, while the other was holding her phone with her recorder playing to see if we could capture the error on video. With a feeling of defeat and frustration, I closed the app. And then, like magic, I attempted to log in again. And by some feat of magic, it worked. But I wasn't done. Back to the representative to set up my computer online banking. Oh yeah, I needed cell service again. So the bank representative leaves her desk and escorts me back into the mall, half hanging over the railing until my cell signal connects, and she assists me with the security login. By this time, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude, but it's not over yet. Now I need to learn how to make a deposit. My neighbor slowly instructed me, and we completed the form and went to the teller who had previously helped me get my card issued. And then she kindly said, "This is incorrect." She showed me the error and sent me back to do it again. I did. And with the smile of a 5-year-old that just completed a task with pride, I returned and asked sheepishly, "Did I do it correctly this time?" She smiled and gave me my receipt. I returned to the representative to make sure this was the last step, and she waved me a wave that spelled congratulations. I checked my translator to make sure I was using the correct words, and I thanked her for both her help and patience. I went to each of the other bank representatives that had been so helpful. The customers who had helped me had already left, but as I looked around this small bank, the man who I had found out was a bank employee that goes to the various branches to ensure good customer service, he had disappeared. I spent a few moments longer looking for him, and like an on-time angel, he had vanished. As I stepped out of the bank with deposit slip and bank card in hand, I felt the tears well up within me. Why had these people been so kind? Why had they helped me? And oh, how grateful I was that they did. I couldn't do it alone. 6 other people is what I needed to complete a task that was solely my responsibility. Why had they been kind to me? Would a middle-aged woman who didn't speak the language well enough to handle her business affairs have been helped the way I was helped here in the States? Would there have been 6 willing helpers to come to her aid and patiently provide aid to her? And then I thought about you all. I thought about us. You see, as a child, I was regularly admonished before leaving home, going out into public, to make sure I act like I got some home training. It didn't matter if we were going to the store shopping, in which case I also got the look with your eyes and not with your hands lecture, or whether we were going to church, we were instructed to practice what we had been taught. That usually meant to use our words, our pleases, and our thank yous, and to mind our manners. This is something that might have been culturally a Black thing because many of my peers had an unspoken understanding for that phrase, but I bet there was some similar reminder in your lives too. Part of that admonition was also so that we don't embarrass our parents, but that's a sermon for another day. And like I said, I thought about us. This is our chosen family. And these meetings, our gatherings, this is our home. Are we out in the world acting like we have some home training? What would it look like? It would look like that village of people whose names I don't know, supporting me in a lot of small ways that made up to a big way on that day in the bank. It would look like people showing care and compassion to their neighbors and strangers. It would look like us planting good seeds with every interaction we have with others. What is our home training? It's our principles, our sacred writings, our songs, our anthems, our affirmations, these sermons. This is our home training. But why? Because we need it. We need it to help guide us to a better way, to guide us in the way of love, to guide us in the ways of being with each other and with the world. So this morning, which one are you? Are you like the expatriate, demanding, demeaning, and unkind? Or are you like the bank village? This morning, I challenge each one of you to answer this question often. Are you out in the world acting like you have some home training? I hope so. As I thought about my conclusion, and that really was it, the word namaste came to mind. I went on a Google deep dive to understand it better, and one of the translations resonated for me and for this message. When you and I bow to our true nature, we are one. Namaste. I'm still teary about the incident out of deep gratitude, but namaste seems appropriate. Often used as a greeting when we see people in the world on whatever journey I'm embarking on. I want to take my true, my loving nature with me. For in that moment, this is me bringing divinity to life in real time today. Enjoy this video in the spirit of Namaste.
Now, where are you off to?
I'm going to find God.
Ah, I see. Well, dinner's at 6. Don't be late.
Thank you.
You're welcome. He was like, no. Here you go.
Thank you.
I love broccoli.
Oh.
Gotta go.
Ah, so did you find him?
God is a woman, Mom. And she has the most beautiful smile I've ever seen.
Why are you in such a good mood?
I just ate Twinkies in the park with God. He's much younger than I expected.